Well, it's worth mentioning then that speaking of you coming into town, I think you're finishing at least this first leg of your tour up in Louisville, November 18th at Zanzibar.
Yes.
And we're always excited to have you, especially behind this great new record. It's a powerful new record with Sorry Is Gone. I know there are big topics to talk about here, and I'm not sure if you're talking about them all. So
try me.
Yeah, okay, good. Just wanted to make sure. You know, the quote I think we take from this, especially from the press quote at the beginning, is you say this is a record about taking your life back. Can you expand on that?
I'd been spending a lot of my life and a lot of my time being a surprisingly, people don't think this, but a doormat for people, and definitely just letting people walk all over me and feeling like I was in the passenger seat of my own life. And when I started writing the songs for Sorry Is Gone, this theme sort of came up where I was taking control of things. And for me, it was a lot of, when I write songs, it's almost like I'm having a talk with myself. Mm-hmm. And then when I'm done with the song, it's like, an older, wiser version of myself is talking to like a younger version of myself. And so basically now I'm a 28-year-old woman, and I feel like I'm giving the teenage self and the younger self and the early 20s self the pep talk that I needed. Yeah. I am the person that I needed, and that's the thing. I think a lot of people, they look to other people to be their role models, but you kind of need to be your own role model.
Now, I know a lot of this, and maybe the stuff that's not being said. Were you writing this record during your marriage falling apart, or did it all happen after that?
No, it was during. It's what helped me. This is what helped me decide to leave, was realizing how much pain I was in, a lot of physical and emotional pain, and I wanted to change things. And I guess I was waiting for someone to come along and help with that, and I needed to come along and help with that. I needed to learn my own self-worth, as cheesy as it sounds. Like I needed to learn to love myself and respect myself and not put up with any bullcrap from anybody.
I mean, you hear a lot of artists talk about using music and writing music as their own personal therapy. I've never got such a sense that it worked in such a strong and powerful way as it did for you, because to be in a situation that you were in, which I've gone through a divorce that wasn't all that bad. I can only imagine what you were going through from the sound of things. Especially, because let's go ahead and say it. There was domestic abuse involved, right?
Yes, and that's something that I've put up with a lot in my life, and I've had an unbelievable, comical amount of bad things happen to me and harm caused to me by other people, and I've always tried to figure out what it was about me that made people mistreat me. And honestly, it's a lack of boundaries and a lack of self-love and self-respect, and thinking, I spent a lot of my life thinking that was normal, that it was okay. I thought, well, these are just things that people don't talk about. This happens in every relationship. This is, everybody gets beat up by their partner and they just don't talk about it. And that's not the case. And there are a lot of people that just don't talk about it, but they should. And the silence that surrounds it is what keeps it going and perpetuates it. And people aren't afraid to talk about car accidents or all these other things. But it's when you read the statistics, it's like 80% of injuries that are caused to women, 80% of women's visits to the hospital are because of domestic violence related injuries, and those are drastically underreported. Yeah. So the idea that we don't talk about it, but it's half of the population is stifling the other half, and you also feel the need to protect the person who's hurting you because you love them, and that makes it complicated. Because it's like someone commits a crime and you want if like one of your friends committed a crime, they stole something or did something, you might be like, oh, I didn't see anything.
Mm-hmm.
And then but when the crime is happening to you and it's from someone that you love and trust, it's even harder because you want to believe them when they say they're not going to do it again and they're sorry. You don't want to think that this person you love is the kind of person that would do these things, so you try to ignore it, and there's a lot of tangled feelings. And then when you get the courage to talk about it, you might tell a friend and they might be like, oh, you shouldn't talk about that. I don't want to get involved in your drama. It's isolating. It's difficult because when people do find out about this kind of stuff, they don't want that around them.
Mm-hmm.
So there are so many factors as to why women don't talk about it, and that's one of the reasons why I feel like I have to talk about it. Right.
And by saying this, I mean, you do become, I don't know, role model is not the right word, but a beacon for anyone who's in these situations that is afraid. And that's sort of an interesting dissection of a record like this, because these are songs that I imagine are all very, very personal lyrically to you. But in this context, they're sort of going to be out there to speak for all these other people.
Yeah. Well, I feel like these are the kinds of songs that I've always wanted to hear.
Mm-hmm.
I think you hear, there's so much music that I take and put, like my favorite artists, I feel like I take their songs and I relate them to myself. And I think having songs that are about this issue and having songs that are about domestic violence will help. For me, I would love to hear songs about my situation, but people, there's not that many. People are afraid to talk about it, and mm-hmm. people are vague. And I think, I honestly feel like the things that I've been through are so difficult and horrific that, I felt like nothing good could come out of it. And that's the only thing that can come out of it, is being able to open my mouth and speak.
Yeah. I mean,
which took me a long time to be able to do.
Yeah. I'm glad you are. I mean, even as I'm on the other side, having not dealt with that, I went into this uncomfortable because it's an uncomfortable topic. And I know it's an important topic, and I'm really happy that you're talking about it. But I can even feel that knowing what we're going to talk about. So
right, and that's the thing, is it shouldn't be uncomfortable because it's so common. And I think the more that we're all able to openly talk about this, the more people will be able to face the music and not be afraid to talk about things. And I don't want, I definitely don't want to make anyone uncomfortable. That's not, but at the same time, it's just one of those things that if we don't talk about it, then nothing will change.
Right. It keeps happening. Well, again, it what you've done, it's such a powerful statement, song after song after song on here. I mean, I forget the actual song, but you use the line, "I've been through hell." And,
that song is called Safe to Connect To.
Yeah.
And, that one's definitely about feeling, wondering how to get back to feeling like a human again after feeling completely dehumanized and like you've been stolen out of your body. And it took me a long time. There was a while where I felt like I was a ghost. I felt like I was outside of my own body, and I was not. It felt like I didn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was just walking around in a shell that looked like me, and I had to take my life back, and I had to find myself again. And writing these songs was a huge part of that.
Well, it's interesting that you use that term, like a ghost, because when I go back and I look at the press photos of the Elliott Smith cover record that you did with Seth, like you look like a ghost, and
yeah. I wasn't eating. I was very depressed. I had so much going on that I couldn't handle anything. I mean, there was during that time, honestly, I was depriving my body of food and nutrients, hoping that I would die so I wouldn't have to deal with being abused.
Yeah. And to be singing the songs that you were. Elliott Smith's songs are not happy songs. It's not like that could have helped any.
Well, I love Elliott Smith.
Sure.
Elliott Smith is my medicine to get through. Even if I'm having I listen to a lot of Elliott Smith, and if I'm having a bad day, most people would want to put on happy music, but I want to put on music that I want to listen to someone who also feels the way that I do.
Yeah.
so I don't feel alone. And I think that's a big thing with music for people is they want to hear someone singing about the way that they feel, and people who aren't afraid of emotions, of the darker emotions.
But yeah, I'm just thinking like, and I agree with you on every bit of that, but I'm almost like thinking like there was no escape, emotionally during that, although it looks like there was an escape in the end.
It took me a while. It took therapy. I regularly, when I'm not touring, I regularly go to a domestic violence support group, and that helped me a lot. It helped me see things that I wasn't seeing, and it helped me understand things, and you're blinded to a lot of this stuff. Or if I was just raised differently and at a different time, in the 90s where women were very objectified, and they still are. But, I guess I was really raised to feel like I wasn't, just everything around me made me feel like I was less important because there was a female.
Yeah.
And then that translates into allowing other people to treat you horribly.
I'll tell you, it does recontextualize, especially that last record, because I know you and your ex-husband worked on that together. And again, I'll bring up the artwork. There is a picture of what looks like a woman crying and a hand put over her face. And I don't know what that meant then, but I know what it feels like it means now.
Yeah, it was definitely, with that album, I feel like that album was very domestic violence centered as well, but I was more vague about it, and I wasn't able to talk about things. I always wrote lyrics first and then music second, and with Make My Head Sing, I was having such a hard time verbalizing what was happening that I got really into playing the guitar, and I call that my guitar album because I play all the guitar on it. And I realized I was expressing myself and speaking through the guitar because I couldn't speak through my words.
Right. I'll kind of use that to further a little bit away from what we're talking about here, but that guitar, it does seem like, there are moments on this record, like the first single, Sorry Is Gone, that almost feels like classic Jessica Lea Mayfield, the stuff we got to know at the beginning. But ultimately, this record goes further down that guitar road, right?
Yeah, there are definitely, I had other musicians on this record too. The last one was really just me, and this one, there's me, and there's Cameron DL, who is an amazing guitar player and plays. I just really enjoy his ideas, and everyone that worked on this album with me, they were really supportive and understood the emotional aspects of it, and it was a very comfortable, creative vibe where I just felt like everyone was working the best that they could to help me express myself.
Yeah, major props, by the way, as a lifelong Sonic Youth fanatic, just knowing that you've got Steve Shelley on here.
I really enjoyed playing with him, and he is a total sweetheart. And it was just one of those things where it was so easy. Everyone that I worked with on this album, they're all so talented that it was incredibly easy and just perfect studio environment and atmosphere. No drama, no problems. Which I'm a magnet for drama. So when things don't go wrong or when things aren't bad or, it's like people aren't yelling at me or freaking out and I'm not crying, then I'm like, what's happening? Like, why, it's like I've come to expect bad things to happen on a regular basis. So when they don't, it's surprising to me.
Yeah, I'm so sorry to hear that.
I'm
trying not to use that word because sorry is gone. Is sort of the anthem. But I hate to hear that because of course we're all such big fans of your music. We have been from that first record, and I know it's easy even for me who talks to musicians and artists every single day. But it's easy to kind of put you all on a pedestal. I know what tour life is really like, but it's still easy to put everybody on a pedestal, and then to have to turn around and hear that someone that you really respect is as having to gone through this and feels like that, to feel the way that you felt in the past, and I can only hope that that's been turned around, and this is a whole new hard second book instead of a second chapter. That's I just hate to hear it. That's all.
Well, for me, the only reason that I'm able to talk about this and is because I'm on the other side of it now. I'm my life is better. I'm much happier. I have my life back for the most part, and I'm still struggling a lot with I'm still in the middle of this divorce, and I've had to move 3 times in the past 5 months, and there's a lot of massive inconveniences, but nothing is as bad as it has been, and I feel like my life is the best it's ever been right now, and that's why I feel the need to talk about this stuff and to do something, to do whatever I can.
Yeah. Well, I will say there is a press shot of you in the studio holding your guitar, and you have the biggest smile on your face, and I think that says it all right there. So, every day I am. People tell me I'm all smiles all the time, and you wouldn't expect that based on my music and the things that I've been through. But for me, I'm not dead, and that is something that. Everything makes me happy. I see a fluffy dog. I drink a sugary margarita. I'm alive. Look, there's a bird. It's so ridiculously, the smallest things make me overly happy. And in a sense, I am thankful for that. And I'm thankful every day to be alive. Yeah, I'm so happy to hear that. And I'm,
Thanks.
I wish you'd never had to go through that, but this record, like I said, I will keep using the word, is so powerful and great, and I'm so happy that you're singing the things that you're singing and saying the things that you're saying, so thank you.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate that very much.
Yeah, and we'll look forward again to seeing you here in Louisville, November 18th.
All right. I look forward to coming back. Thank you so much for talking with me.
All right, have a great one. Take care.
All right, you too. Bye.
Bye.